Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Suzanne Purcell, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or zip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Good morning, my love. We did it. Welcome to the Point to Rise podcast. I am more than grateful today to have you back here. Happy belated birthday, my love.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have been chatting before we actually pushed recording because we had some events happening that needed to leave the energy realm. All good. We're bushy-tailed and bright-eyed now. And how was your week, baby?
It was great. My mom was still here for a good deal of it, and it was just, oh God, it was so wonderful. I did a lot of unplugging this past week, which I also realized how badly I needed. So it just felt good. It was like a reboot for me. So I'm feeling refreshed and ready to get back in the groove. But it was just really nice, and the and the visit was long overdue. Like my mom and I, we just have a great relationship, and I mean, we've never been apart this long. So it was just really nice for us both to just unplug.
Aww.
So, yeah. What about you?
Nice. Oh gosh. So last week, for some reason, like things just fell into place. Not for some reason, but it was just like one thing after another. I made some connections in the crowdfunding space. I made more connections in the people that hire people in order to put together. So Rise Media is actually the fetus is growing.
Yeah.
I know. I'm so excited. I reconnected with my sister. We hadn't talked in quite a while, which was like a therapy session in its own. Because we both don't talk to our mother. I mean, she lives like 10 miles away from her and they don't talk.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to my mother in, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, something like that. And Gordon, my husband, and I, we were on a walk yesterday and we were like reminiscing, our parents are becoming like getting into the age that we should be prepared that they're going to go soon. I mean, my mother is turning 89 this summer. And we were talking about what that would feel like. And it was really, 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 really hard for me to find a balance between what I'm expected to feel versus what I'm really feeling, without judgment. I understand that I do not want to have that relationship with my children, and I believe that we are or chosen to raise them differently, and that I'm a completely different person, even as I was 5 years ago. But we also have established, like trust in our family, where I never had that.
Yeah.
Ever. I was pregnant when I was still in ballet school. I told my best friend, not her. So these were like, and the feelings that came up was like, I don't know if I would be actually sad. And it is so hard, and go ahead and judge me. I mean, you're free to do that. We all have different experiences, but it's definitely not something that I don't want to regret never talking to her, but I did try to solve the situation and it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I am beyond the point where I want to be loved just because she has the title mother, because I will always be grateful for her and for what she's done for me. And giving it that much grace and love that at a certain point, this relationship no longer works,
Yeah.
even though we're biologically
Yeah.
integrated, or, so that was really hard and really freeing at the other side as well.
Yeah.
Wow, totally different topic. But it
Yeah.
was, it was just it sparked. It was just a series of events or thoughts or feelings that came up, and I don't think that even a year ago I would have been able to acknowledge that and talk about it, like putting it in words and putting it out without feeling shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes when this podcast launches.
Well, I thank you for sharing that. I do believe that family dynamic and what we're presented with the family dynamic is really set around us to feel guilt and shame for a lot of things,
Mm.
because it's expected that we are just supposed to be, you know, all so close or ride or dies with all of our family. And to me, in observing this as I get older, that just it seems unrealistic, because we get to choose in every other sense who is actually in our on our life, and we base it on who really resonates with us, and we don't choose our family. And so I feel like there is that when there isn't a dynamic that looks like a Hallmark commercial, that there's supposed to be guilt and shame around that. So I thank you for sharing that, because I think if we all can allow ourselves that it's okay if that isn't what you don't watch a movie and relate to that family, like that's okay. And that's a choice, and it's okay to find that dynamic in another area that's not the label of whatever the family title is. So I thank you for sharing that, because I know that you're not alone in feeling that way.
And don't get me wrong, I want the picture
Yeah.
perfect family. Like, I'd love to have it. And coming to the conclusion that it's just not going to happen this way on this side. However, I'm in control of what I create in my own family. I'm in control how I take the lessons that I've learned and the experiences and relate them in a different way. Like I don't have to relive them. I don't have to recreate them. And that's the, oh, what a beautiful segue. Oh, let's just take it that way. So today, my dear loves, we are going to talk about how much is your time actually worth. And let me preface this whole subject. With stepping into entrepreneurship and running my own business, I have been struggling, particularly in the beginning, to understand what my own worth is. And I remember I was sitting in a room with other entrepreneurs, 50 of them, and we were led through an exercise to determine like what the actual math is behind how you can find your hourly wage. Um, Determine on how many hours you want to work, how many, days in a week and weeks, and what you want to make in a year. So it's a very basic mathematic equation that you can. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is like 3 digits long. What the? I am not worth that. Like I'm right now making 25 bucks an hour and this is like $349. What? How, where is the miss here?
Mhm.
And it opened up such a huge thought process and it till this day work on myself of finding my worthiness, that the number that came up, and it has doubled by now with where I want to go, um that it's like, oh my gosh, it's not, I have to do some more work in here in terms of, do I really feel worthy of getting 750 bucks an hour? and billing it out and saying, hey, what I have to offer is definitely worth that much. And when I heard others, Chris Harder, his hourly rate right now is $4,000, right? And when I heard that, see, exactly. So your face, the words that could follow that internal, oh my gosh, I had to figure out what that was for me. And my first thought was, how can somebody ask for so much money per hour? How dare you? Who do you think you are? And I'm like, oh wow, interesting, super interesting. Where is this coming from? Why don't you, like, it has nothing to do with anybody else and everything to do with myself, not with their worthiness, not with what they're offering, not what they're doing. It had everything to do what I was thinking and feeling about my abilities and about myself. So in a little bit, we'll walk you through the formula, the math formula. And I also want to take you guys through a little bit of what I found in my research in terms of ballet companies and artistic directors' salaries, where we're at compared to in which city they're in, and if this actually is a living wage. But before that, Christy, I'd love to hear a little bit. I saw a little cues there in your body language and the twitching and the writing. So
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, this whole topic is still, I'm absolutely a work in progress with operation in progress is what I like to say with this money mindset and rewiring. And for me, it runs so deep, and you hit the nail on the head with the worthiness, because that's been the biggest thing for me in my unworthiness that I didn't even know I had until I started to explore myself. And I said, wow, how am I that unworthy? How the heck did I have this kind of career if I felt like that about myself? So the money,
Amen. Oh
right?
my God. Yeah.
Right. So the money part has been the biggest thing. From the product to the environment of the industry, I believe, is one thing. And then also the way I felt about myself. So, and in the growth for me, I had a lot of goals and dreams even a year ago laid out for my business of what I wanted to achieve. And even my growth now, they're not necessarily all what I see for myself anymore. So I'm still kind of reworking what that is for me. What is that ideal? What am I really shooting for? And like you said, it has everything to do with myself thinking about $4,000 an hour, or what somebody else makes, and either seeing or not seeing myself in that. And then what's coming up that's stopping me. And actually, this is a really interesting topic that you decided, because when I saw your message to me about it, I thought, oh, how serendipitous, because I feel like I've just been going through that again these last couple of weeks of, what is the ultimate goal? What am I shooting for? And what kind of life do I want to create? And what does that look like in terms of money? So it's a very interesting thing, and it's never something I did before. I've said it on, if you've listened to any of these other episodes, I gauged my career on accolades and names. So I was shooting for names. Whatever I got paid, I just knew I'd make it work. And that was my perspective. So really breaking down what I am worth an hour, still to me, is I can feel there's something to work through. And that's the biggest thing with everything that we talk about, is when something comes up, either if we say something and you are triggered in some way and you feel something, that's how you get to start unraveling this, because then you can say, okay, what is that? Like, I feel a tightness in my chest. Okay, what is that? I'm actually going to go reflect after this on what that is. And that's how you start to break down and unravel, and then see other avenues for you. So that's really, I think, what we're going to talk about too, is like, to not make us feel bad, but open up our sights for other additions or ways to create that, where we don't feel like it's an inevitably stuck situation.
Thank you for sharing that. I just want to ask to the why I actually really am passionate about this topic so much is starting the self-development journey. I realized that I always had put myself at the mercy of somebody else. I took the scraps, the little crumbs, and in every possible scenario. And that was my job, as in private relationships, the same thing. And when I learned that I don't have to do that, I'm actually stop. What? What are you saying here? I don't. Why is that? It was such a revelation for me that not only could I have lived a better life and have a much better savings account at this very moment, but I also would have lived a completely different career. And the point of taking power back to yourself is that you don't have to, at the end of your life, sit there and regret something, or even when you're 30 or 40, or when you stop dancing. If I only would have known that. This is why we're sitting here. This is why I personally get like through all of the I'm saying it, through the shit sandwiches myself first, so that I can use that as a teaching and as saying, hey, this is maybe what's coming up. And when you're feeling unworthy, it's because of that. And this is how it translates into your life, into everything, anything, like every issue, every rock bottom, anything that I've ever experienced that wasn't what I wanted had to do with the way I felt about myself.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's just that's it. Like there's no more to it. It's a huge topic, but that is the essence of what was really going on. And still to this day, when I can't talk to somebody or when I feel nervous on speaking the truth, I feel shame, I feel unworthy of who's going to listen to me. All of this is coming up. Do you want to add something to that?
I can relate to all of that. In the personal growth too, what I found is there are times, actually I have it right now, where you almost don't know who you are. Like you're so different and you stand for such different things, or you envision such different things for yourself, that then you get in your own way too, because you're out of that zone of, I guess I feel like you get out of a zone of knowing what you're going to do next, because you're not doing anything that's familiar to you anymore.
Yeah.
That it's understanding that you're putting it on you, you're making it about you, and then turning it back on, okay, what is the vision to keep going? Because it's really easy to keep turning it back on ourselves and just say, you know, let that insecurity, let those things, that this isn't how you act dictate what you do next. Yeah. And that's just part of this. So no, if you're open to whatever we say and there's little seeds growing, that this is your
Good.
path, and it's yeah, that's growth.
That's the path.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, let's go through let's, oh my gosh, we're gonna cut this all out. Let me recover from this. If you have a piece of paper and a pen handy, listeners, you just do that. So I am taking San Francisco Ballet, the statistic from 2016 as an example. So let's, a core dancer at San Francisco Ballet in 2016 made $1,146.62. Okay. And their contract lasted for 42 weeks. meaning they were paid $48,158.04 a year. So that's their, in the beginning of a court answer, that's what they're taking home. So if you want to determine, and I'm going to do this right here, what the, maybe you can help me, Christy, what their hourly is. So we need to go into, 1146. I can't do it on mine. Can you do it on yours?
Yeah.
1146 divided by, and we're assuming that they're working 40 hours
Okay.
a week.
So that's
So 1146.
28.65 an hour.
Okay, so $28 an hour. In a city where in 2016 you paid $3,200 per month for an apartment that you actually have to share with somebody in order to really afford it. So for me, there's a big gap. But let's get into how we determine what we actually make right now, which we just walked you through, to what you actually want to earn. So first of all, I would say, why don't you figure out how many weeks a year you want to work? So for me, I only want to work 48 weeks. Okay. And how many hours is that? 48 weeks. I'll say I work 40 hours a week. Okay. So that translates into 48 times 40 is 1,920 hours of income producing time in a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now how much do I want to make a year? So for me personally, I am choosing 350,000. And we are going to divide 350,000 or whatever your salary or what your yearly income is. Going to divide that by 1,920. And if you could do that on your...
It is $182.29.
Okay. So that would be, if this is my goal, if I want to work 40 hours a week for 48 weeks a year, and I want to only make 300, only if I want to make 350,000 a year, then my hourly rate is $182. Let's say 183.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that is about a long way away from $28.
Yes.
Yes. So how can we offset that? Let's just say that way. We now know this is our hourly rate with like 8 hours a day working, or 40 hours a week. You can like stretch it over 7 days a week, which, would maybe allow you 6 hours a day, something like that. There are ways you can offset your income by having different streams of income, like promoting, affiliate marketing, be in network marketing, sell a product for another company. Oh my gosh, there are so many possibilities out there right now that you potentially could get to that 182, 183 an hour. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one side of it, but there's also the side of how are you spending your time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it gets really itty gritty, but that is what separates from the people that actually get to these hourly wages to the ones that are making $28 per hour. You have to be so diligent in scheduling your calendar. It's even a minute that you use on something that isn't really giving you joy or producing an income is a minute where you do with a math, what's 183 divided by 60, then you know your minute. What's that? For 30, $30, 33, something like that. Free, $3.10, let's say, or $3.01. You just put $3.01 into the trash, basically. And that's the thinking I feel that I didn't know existed. I have never ever looked at my ability to earn that deep down the rabbit hole. And that's where the difference lays. So let's say you're in the studio for 8 hours and you're, spending time rehearsing and over and warming up again and sitting in the cafeteria and complaining, and not saying that you do. I was, for sure. I spent a lot of time on complaining and pointing fingers at everybody else for not doing their job. And smoking and, not really taking care of me. I managed to spend at least 4 hours a day during my day on these absolutely silly tasks that didn't bring me joy or an income. And if I could have redirected that time, if I would have known what the formula is and how it all is put together in this nice little present, I know I would have made different choices.
Oh, I can so relate to that. Wow. Yeah. Everything you just said was my reality too.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, guys, I actually I found an article from New York City Ballet from an attorney, Jeremy Tillman. He wrote that in 2013 and just took it as a something to just put out. Okay, just so we know when we're looking at like salaries, and I'm going to walk you through my thought process. So I did a little bit of research on what an average dancer makes nowadays in like bigger companies. We'll get maybe in the small ones, but I'm not as knowledgeable. But we're looking at like New York City Ballet, San Francisco Ballet, etc. And so first of all, I want to say that the gap between a first year core dancer and a principal dancer isn't all that big. So that for me was like, what? That is very interesting. I think it's like $700-800 between entry core and principal dancer. Something to think about it. I'm not going to put a label on it, but when I just looked, I was like $1,100-1,200 for entry level. Oh wow, that's awesome. It's like 3 times as much as I made when I 20 years ago, and that's great. Until I started digging into what it actually costs, the cost of living is in these big hubs, and the comparison just didn't match up. So with a $48,000 a year, you can hardly get by in San Francisco. With even, and in this article that I was just mentioning, they're taking, so New York City Ballet had been operating without contract since the summer of 2012. Now, if that is still the case, I don't know. I have not done the research about this. But there were no details of the agreement. And yet again, I'm paraphrasing this article. There were no agreement details available beyond the fact that the dancers are guaranteed a pay of 38 weeks at this point in 2012. Okay. So then this Jeremy went into a little internet research suggesting that a member of New York City Ballet in the core makes $1,500 a week. So I found other streams of information where they're not quite making that much yet in 2019. But let's just say that's the case, okay, which is awesome. And he's also suggesting, let's just assume that the new contracts were more generous and he lifted the weekly income by $500. So let's say they make $2,000, entry level core dancer, $2,000 a week for 38 weeks. Okay. So that's equaling 76,000 a year, which is a good salary in New York, as long as you can share a studio apartment in an outer borough with 2 or more members of the corps de ballet. Okay. or you can marry an investment banker or somebody from Wall Street. So, and he also mentioned that there is a bit of a controversy here, that about 5 years ago, when a tax return from Peter Martins was became official or public, here's the word, it actually revealed that he made about $700,000 on that tax return. Okay. Yet again, I'm not judging yet. However, and some of that money comes from royalties of his choreographies at that point in 2012. But that shows me personally where the gap is here. We're giving the people that are on stage, that are making the company, that are making the products 10 times less than somebody that's sitting in front, and yes, helping them to get better, but we're not giving them the options to increase their income. Like, we're keeping them. We're not giving them the option to negotiate. We're not giving them the option to say, hey, 38 weeks is great, but there are 12, 14 more weeks left in the year, and I would love to go and make some more money. And if you do that, some companies even won't let you do that, right? They don't let you guest at all. You are theirs and theirs only, and you have to work for them, and you can't make any more money. So who are they to say and dictate this kind of behavior? That is not their decision. I'm just saying. So that is one thing that I'm not okay with, absolutely not okay with when it comes to that money. Let's put this into perspective to like NBA players, okay? A median salary of an NBA player yearly in 2012 was $1.75 million. If we include players on short-term contracts, the top salary exceeds 30 million, and the lowest salary as of 2011-2012 season, according to the NBA, was 500,000 for a rookie. A rookie is somebody like an apprentice, right? So when I look at that, athletes, I mean, these NBA players, they train just as hard and just as much as dancers do.
Mm-hmm.
And the sports have figured out to be a community-based interaction, a community-based company, an event. Like, they make it an event, where the arts have yet to figure it out what that actually is. So if we understand the products are the same, the sports are much easier to understand. Dance is not. I mean, they intellectualize ballet to the point where you just sit there and it's like, now what? Like, I don't understand. Like, why am I here? And if we want to be relatable, and I'm saying we here because I am now counting myself in, if the ballet world wants to be relatable, good Lord, go and find what people actually want to see and not what your donors want to see.
Yeah.
Help me. Like, I'm like,
yeah. I haven't been in the professional aspect of the ballet or the modern world, but I was trained very extensively in both. And I can say even from the modern worlds too, I come from that kind of a background, and I still can't tell you the number of performances I've gone to and said, I have to look at the program of what this is about, because I don't know what I'm watching. So yeah, that makes a divide to the audience. And that's something that I actually think the theater world in the last 10 years has actually really taken a look at and changed, into this contemporary venue that people really want to keep going to, because they've kind of moved with the times into not what they just wanted to do. Yes, we still have the classics, and they'll still do revivals of the Hello Dollies and all that, because the diehard theater fans love that too. But then for the people who aren't diehard theater fans, when you bring in, stage versions of movies or something contemporary, that brings more people. So, if you want to be a discipline for the masses, there has to somehow be a give and take of the change in what society is like. And there's definitely a change, and people don't go to the theater like they used to decades ago as the only form of entertainment. So if we don't kind of ride with where the world is going, that keeps the divide of only the hard, the solid, artistic, loving people are going to come to those type of performances.
And if 2020 has shown us anything, like if you take that away on how we like the only way we were consuming the arts, if you take that out of the equation, then what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you do? And it's just the reluctancy, and I honor the position that they're in. I understand change is absolutely hard, and particularly in the arts, everything, it can move fast if you have the right people leading the things, but it also can move terribly slow, molasses like,
Yes.
if you haven't decided yet where you want to go.
Yes. Yes.
And for me, indecision is the decision to suffer, and I see a lot of suffering right now. So
Yeah.
when we're looking at a rookie getting 500,000 a year versus, did I lose you? Oh no, Christy. Okay, I'm just gonna keep talking. To and core dancer starting, which is a rookie too, at 48,000 a year, the divide is way too big. I'm so glad you're back. So
yeah, you froze, and I knew that I was probably frozen on your
yeah.
end.
Let's talk about negotiations, because I know in these sports, contracts are all, that's why they have agents, they negotiate. I did not know when I was dancing I could negotiate. And let me just tell you that I never in my 7 years in Berlin got a raise in my base salary. Okay. And my husband yesterday, he's like, yeah, negotiating, that wasn't even an option. Like, you were told what you're gonna get, and if you didn't like it, well, too bad. You're out. There's the
Yeah.
door, because I have like 20 others that are going to fill the spot.
Yeah.
Well, you were experienced.
Very similar. Yeah, certainly through my 20s, I didn't negotiate. I just accepted. And really, there wasn't an energy that invited me to do anything else. It really was, this is what it is, take it or leave it. And I had the perspective too of, being female and being in the chorus, as a female dancer. My goodness, if I don't want it, there's a whole line behind me that will take it. So it wasn't even an option, because it wasn't really I mean, it was kind of that, like, they wanted me in the show or in the contract, but if I said anything otherwise, I mean, they wouldn't have dropped everything to keep me. They would have just picked somebody else. So that really was my experience. And into my 30s, as I had, I rebalanced my body, and I was having a rejuvenation that I hadn't had in a few years, and I was back to a full-time status. And I particularly felt in one instance that I had put in dozens of contracts at a particular place, and I had had a relationship with them for well over a decade. I felt like it was okay. It was a role that I had been doing as well. It was an annual show that came up, so it was something that I actually originated a role, and helped birth, that it was okay if I asked for more pay than what I had been paid 10 years before that. And it was, I was told no, there wasn't any room for that. And so I actually did not take it. And that was really the first time I stood up for it, but it didn't end up in my favor, except that I just held, a posture around what I felt was okay to ask for. So my experience with negotiation was really not. There wasn't an option for me. It was definitely a take it or leave it and be grateful for what you get.
So thank you for sharing that. Here's what's coming up for me, that the thought that just shut in my head. In corporate, we have a yearly review, okay? And depending on our measures, the measurable that we have reached in terms of numbers and some softer skill development as well, you were given a number, and that number stood for percentage in your yearly salary increase. Okay. Although it was like pennies on the cent, like it was not really that much, but at least there was a consideration of, here is how you're going to earn more money. Okay. But there was always a cap. Every year there was a cap. You could not increase your salary by more than 4%.
Okay.
Looking back, that was never an option. Okay. Regardless to inflation, regardless of cost of living rising, and if we look at the big metropolitan cities, I mean, the growth in 10 years is like insane. Where in let's say San Francisco, you paid $2,000 for an apartment 10 years ago. Now it's 4.
Yeah.
But your income only really grows by, if you're lucky, 4%. So I want you to really, really understand the balance here and the percentage. And I can relate to the thought of, oh, money is not so important. I don't need to make money. I want to dance in this company. I want these names. I want to have the experience. But from people that have been through it, we're telling you, start looking at it now. Look at what's coming down the pipe. What is your hourly? Why are you not making more? You can make more. And what would that actually mean to you if you could make more? Like, would you spend less time on, and remember, anything that you're not spending your time on income producing or joy producing is not really worth spending your time on. It's a waste. So if you're looking through the newspaper for coupons and clipping and how you can save money, that's not income producing. That is the wrong energy. So what would it actually mean? Like, how much more would take some relief off of you a month? Like, do the math, sit down, think about it. And then I'm not even talking about like where your priorities when you're spending money, or priorities as in, are you your own priority, or are the shoes that you're wearing the priority because they make you feel better? Which I can totally relate to. I was that person. Like, I had all the new trends in my closet. The more, the better. And I was consistently broke. Did I ever consider spending money on myself as in, hey, I could actually spend money and learn more about business. I could spend money and learn more about finances. And on this note, oh my gosh, I don't know if you have seen on Netflix yet, this whole college, getting into colleges that actually weren't, like, you could pay your way into it. Like, there was an agency where you could like pay ridiculous amounts of money and find not the back door through donations, but the side door. That scared me so much. However, they talked a little bit on what the level in these Ivy League schools in terms of education. The education plan hasn't been changed since 1980s, and how they're teaching things, and we're in 2021. So I am just caution you, before you spend like $200,000 on a Harvard business degree, think, where else can you perhaps get better information from people that are actually doing it, that are living, that are walking the talk. That was just, this is a side note, and I now totally lost my train of thought. Holy 40s are awesome.
That's okay.
Help me out.
I can piggyback off of what you said.
Okay, awesome.
I love you talking about what what amount of your day is around your own joy.
Mm.
Because for me, at the time in my dance career, dictated all of my joy around that career. I mean, I put all the eggs in that basket. Like, that's where my joy comes from. That's my work. That's my everything. And so I let that, or I made that just be everything. And so in making that my everything, that meant that the rest of the time, just like you said, was just not, I didn't even consider it. I didn't even consider what life looked like outside of rehearsal, warm up time, show time, class time. Outside of that, it was just like I wasted so much because there was nothing else. And so by making that my everything, I never sought other ways to maybe take some pressure off of me thinking about the money that I had to hold on to and squander from that career. Like, I didn't even think about, is there something else I could be doing when I'm not here? Or what else do I like to do? It's like I just made that my everything. And I didn't even look, I had like blinders on for everything else. So I love assessing not just what we're doing with our time, if we could be doing something income producing, which I really could have benefited from having that mindset and that perspective and looking at that, but also what are you doing that creates joy? Because I used to be obsessed with the TV. Like, the second, even just for noise, it would just always be on. I would literally sit up, turn on the TV, and just have the noise because I couldn't be alone with myself
Oh
and
my
in
God.
silence. So how much time was I wasting? Because I can't tell you how many times I'd hear something and I'd walk over to the TV, I'd be a zombie for 12 minutes while I watched a segment, and then realize like I just was a zombie, and oh wow, what time is it? I gotta go. And how many times did that happen? Over and over and over in my days, just all the time. So I like assessing that too. How, not that we're just efficient workhorses and we only do things that are efficient all day, but like where's the joy too? Because the joy in the TV, that wasn't that wasn't bringing me joy. It was just a habit.
Okay, I think we found our topic for next week.
Yeah, I
Um,
love.
yes. Oh, wow. Well, let's wheel it in. Here are three things that we really want to pass on to you right now. So if you, one, do the exercise, figure out what your current hourly income is, and really be diligent on how many hours you're actually spending in the studio and performing. Like, even putting on your makeup and getting ready for a show or taking class is considered work, and you should be considering as your work.
Yes.
Okay. The second one is, what do you want to really make? Like, what is it that you really want to make? And how many weeks and days are you willing to work? And figure out what your new hourly wage would be. And look at the gap, where the gap is. And number three, start dreaming how you can fill that gap, how you can fill that gap. What can you do to create what's missing between your current hourly rate and the one that you really want to have, so
Yeah.
you can meet your income goals.
Yeah. I do think, uh, well, here's what I feel. I wasn't in the scope of even looking for it 15 years ago. But at the same time, looking at maybe when we were like really in it and what the world looks like now, I believe that there is no easier time to add something in to a life that we had and that the current dancers have, that you can literally do right from your phone.
Oh yeah.
With it being well supported, not a large investment. This social marketing is is natural, and in and of itself is what I would recommend to anyone, especially dancers, for the time, for the ease, and for it just literally being natural to find something that you love and want to talk about it. Um, so, I'm not biased because I do it myself. I really felt as soon as I saw it, wow, where's this been the last 10 years? This would have made my dance career a hell of a lot easier or breathable, if I had known about that. I didn't even know there were options like that where I wouldn't have to go somewhere and pick up another job that I had to physically go to. It's something that you could do regardless of what your schedule looks like.
Well,
So,
passive income.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because you're
So,
tapped out with your time. You should not think about something else to do where you trade your time for money.
right, right.
Yeah.
And we're all on social media anyway. So,
Which everybody is. Oh,
yeah,
yes. Yeah. That's how most of the people are consuming their content, right? So
yeah,
make it work for you.
yeah,
This is an invitation to look at your life or your current situation from a different perspective. Because
yeah,
there are like 100 million of different perspectives out there. And this is just one of them that you could choose to. You don't have to wear the jacket, just try it on.
yeah,
Literally try the jacket on and see. It may feel uncomfortable for the first couple of months, but maybe you'll grow into it.
yeah,
You never know. You
yeah,
never, ever know.
yeah.
Okay, with that, wow, that was a good one.
Mm,
Long, long.
yeah.
I hope you made it through. Christy, thank you, my darling.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you.
Oh,
Thanks for having these conversations. And we will talk to you next week, you guys. Thanks for listening.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.